Wow, I just picked up something very strong, and Kevin, is not happy that Britney's happy. I've had a lot of struggle with Aries in my life. I don't necessarily feel like I gel. Hi everyone, welcome back to No Light Tarot. My name is Hallie, so grateful to have you all. Welcome if it's your first time. I read tarot through hot topics through a tarot perspective. So please subscribe for more, blah blah blah. So grateful to have you all. Thank you to my members who have recently joined. Shout out to Nature's Rhythm. Shout out to Army Jamie. I hope I said that right. Anyways, let's get into it. So I decided to do this reading because there's been a lot of drama with Britney Spears and her ex-husband Kevin Federline, and I feel as though I did a video about this a long time ago in terms of conservatorship and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But I picked up that Kevin Federline was on Britney's side, but now it looks like he's switched, and I think there are a number of factors that have to do with it. So we'll get into it. I'm excited to do this. Okay, so I pulled up the charts. Britney Spears, her sun is in Sagittarius, moon is in Aquarius, and rising is in Libra. Kevin Federline, his sun is in Aries, excuse me. Moon is in Virgo, and rising is Libra. Okay, so he's actually a cusp. He's right on the first day of Aries. So I do sense some Pisces energy about him that I can just pick up. Particularly the shadow side of Pisces, which loves to play the victim, but we'll get more into it. So with the past being 3 of Swords, 10 of Wands, and 7 of Cups. Okay, so I see here lots of fighting back and forth, moving around. Kevin has moved around a lot. If he's in LA, I see him moving to by the water. He doesn't seem very stable, and that's the shadow side of Aries. He doesn't seem very stable and very indecisive. I get that very, very strongly. And I think Britney, and I'm going to hold both of them accountable because that's just the way that I roll. This channel is about learning and growing. So as much as I point out flaws he has, I point out flaws she has, and both of them this is for us to learn. So if we find ourselves in a situation like this, we can learn. That's the whole point of this channel. And I strongly feel like he's very indecisive, so it was hard to keep up with him. It was one day he was like this, the next day he was like that, you know. And obviously there were other forces in it too, but he didn't have he wasn't very solid. And to be with somebody who's that famous, you need to have some kind of you need a strong anchor, an inner anchor, which I don't see him having. And I also think people have claimed that he wanted to marry her just for fame, and I think that's kind of rude to say, but I think he loved her, but he also loved the attention she gets because he could get it too. So at the present, especially with when he did this recent interview on Daily Mail, that's actually what prompted me to do it. I saw that he was oh, my producer. I'm why is your producer any of this? But I think he wants to subliminally remind people. He's a very subliminal person, very passive aggressive. He wants to remind people that, hey, I'm still doing music. So with 10 of Swords, 7 of Wands, and 4 of Cups. Okay, so lots of heartache, unfortunately, about the situation, which is very sad. Wow, I just picked up something very strong, and Kevin, is not happy that Britney's happy. I've had a lot of struggle with Aries in my life. I don't necessarily feel like I gel well with Aries, and this is one of the reasons why. I think sometimes Aries can be very me, and I'm the only one that can be happy. Not all, but a lot. And her sister's in Aries too. He's in Aries, and I can see the similarities of how she's being portrayed by Aries in her life and how I have been portrayed by Aries in my life. And he doesn't want her to be happy. And when she becomes happy, then he comes in and tries to destroy that. Very, very unfortunate. I do want to say, however, I do understand. I mean, there has been a video that went viral about Britney being assertive with her children, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I support her 100%. She was right in one of the videos where she said, I'm a woman, treat me like that, especially if you're raising boys, you know. She was completely right. However, I do agree with him when he says, in the interview, in the Daily Mail interview, he did say that the boys have to go to school knowing that their mothers posted new pictures and so forth and so forth. And that's a reality that we have to address, you know. We have kids, you know. I'm planning on having kids, and one day our children will look up to us and either approve or disapprove of the things we've done. Now, if it's obviously something that we don't have control over or something tedious, then obviously it's not your fault. But posting new pictures, she can control, and I wouldn't do it. I don't agree with it if you have children, because it's not about you. And I was watching this YouTube channel a while ago, and they were discussing the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and how Lisa Rinna's daughter is having issues and not talking to her, allegedly, from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And the YouTuber said something so poignant. She said, one day your children will come to you with a list of things you haven't done right, like, and say to you, hey, I know you've done this right, I know you've done that right, but you could have done this better, you know. And I think when parents just shut it off and said, I did the best I could, it defeats the whole purpose of growth. It defeats the whole purpose of humility and compassion. It's like, you know what, I could have done that better, you know. Because it's human to human, and I think sometimes parents think they have ownership over children, which is not the case. Your child is a separate entity. As much as you guide them and lead them and provide and nurture them, they still have a right to say, I'm not happy with everything you've done. And I would strongly encourage Britney to not be so defensive, because she's very defensive because of the attachment to Kevin. And I would encourage her to have her own conversation with her children and lead by, firstly, I'm sorry I broke up our home, you know, because going through divorce, I'm a child of divorce, it's not easy. I think a lot of parents are like, well, I just have to be happy. And it's like, no, but you also, life happens, yes, and sometimes we hurt people as a byproduct of situations that we have no control over. But you still apologize and you still say, I'm sorry I broke up the home. He should do it too. But it seems like there's a lot of, you did this, you did that. This on all fronts, especially from the adults, which is very disappointing because adults should be taking accountability. So with the future being 9 of Pentacles, 3 of Cups, and King of Pentacles. I see very strongly here. Okay, so there's an older male figure that's coming in. I think it might be Kim Federline's dad, but it's not obviously Britney Spears' dad. It's somebody that's very, oh, it might be Matthew, the lawyer. Somebody who's wise, who has children themselves, who's going to be like, okay, it's not worth all of this. Because Kevin Federline wants money. It's very, very clear. I can see it. I can see it in the cards. He wants money. And with 10 of Cups, he's like, you know, I don't like to drag people, but I do see here he's very content in living off of the money she makes, which is so crazy to me. I feel like Sagittarius often get themselves into relationships like this where they end up with users, and then it's like this back and forth of like, they used me, and it's kind of like a shadow side of Sagittarius that they need to work on. So as I clarified, 10 of Cups, got 4 of Swords, Ace of Wands, and Page of Wands. So we're gonna find out something very soon. Yeah, she's gonna cut him off financially, Hangman and Knight of Wands. She's gonna cut him off and be like, you know, I did this for you, I did that for you, it's time to be done. So I do see her mending. I don't really like to talk about kids. I'm only really talking about them because they are the spotlight of the situation. But I do see a bright future for her and her kids. I do see them mending everything. I would just encourage them to keep everything off of social media. It's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? So Seven of Swords, Nine of Wands, a Queen of Wands. Okay, so she is going to be very defensive. She's very defensive, which is, you know, it is what it is. I understand why she's defensive, but she also needs to calm. She has this inner fire that's like pew 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 pew, you know, and a lot of people don't respond well to that. So she has a part of herself, and I'm not talking about with her father, her sister, and her mother, but I'm talking about with the other family members. She needs to learn to communicate and be humble. Two of Swords and the Sun, and create, because and that's something we also have to realize when we get older. A lot of the time when we raised a certain way, and it can be abusive, you know, I think our generation, millennial generation, is the first generation that has had the tools to really have health and wellness be a part of our lifestyle. So we can't necessarily blame our parents for it, but we have to look within ourselves and see, hey, I was taught and adopted some traits that are not necessarily healthy, and I need to not get rid of, but I just need to notice if it's serving me and how I treat other people. And she's going to have to do that. She will end up doing it because she's in therapy. But that spark she gets from her dad. She gets from her dad. Once she learns, you know, people say forgiveness takes time. And I don't mean forgive as in we're best friends, but forgive as in they did the best that they could. Once she adopts that mentality with her dad, then she will be able to understand where her children are coming from. So I love you all. Please comment, please be respectful. Take care.